This is the story of someone getting out of their comfort zone to being forced to, but really everybody has the choice. Get out of your comfort zone. Uh, what's your own hero's journey, right? What's your own thing that you can go do that will improve your community, right? Ask
Your
yourself
life and
that.
your
Yeah,
community.
yeah, your life and your community. Like ask yourself that and go do it, right? And
Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis,
I'm Michael.
and we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. So the topics on this show range from theology, masculinity, stories, movies, philosophy, books, pop culture, and many other subjects. We often talk about the people we admire and the wisdom that they share. People such as Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who we believe is the sage of our time. Michael, why are we here?
Today we are reviewing Klaus, the 2019 Netflix film made by SPA or SPA, but commissioned by Netflix, so Netflix owns it.
Yeah.
And I just getting into it, this is the best thing that Netflix has done.
Hello? Jesper Johansson, postman. Mr. Klaus, you have a gift. You were meant for making toys. So I figured if you donate your old toys, I'll deliver them for free.
Tonight, I go with you.
There's no need for you to come with me, really. Tonight, then.
has done, I think.
Yes.
On their own, by far, bar none, this is probably the best thing that it. I don't think Netflix has made anything that's made my they've been good, they've been okay. Some of them have been very forgetful and very non-memorable. Some have been rememberable, but nothing's really made my top 5 or top 10 lists. And Klaus is definitely top 10 list.
Yeah, it's an original origin story of Santa Claus, and I'll just quickly read the IMDb. When the town of Smearensburg's new postman Jasper befriends toymaker Klaus, their gifts melt an age-old feud and deliver a sleigh full of holiday traditions. It is a film written and directed by Sergio Pablos, who is kind of a famous animator. It is one of the few movies, I guess I should say one of the few animated films that is still mostly hand-drawn. It looks like a 3D movie, but it's hand-drawn. It's beautifully shot. And you and I have been talking about reviewing this movie since we started the podcast. We started it pretty much last December. And so we're almost a year into this. And we were like, let's do Klaus for next Christmas. And this is part of our leading up to Christmas series that we're going to do. And we've done A Christmas Carol, and this is the next one. And we both love this movie. Netflix, for me, is extremely forgettable with its movies, almost to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having trouble remembering one that I really liked. So this movie for me is the penultimate, or the ultimate, I guess I should say, for Netflix. It was nominated the year that it came out for Best Animated Feature. I wish it had gotten it because I don't know who it was up against. It was probably up against some big studio like Disney. Disney kind of owns the market when it comes to animated features. But this is a great movie, and we're going to review it today. So, what are your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts, and I'm sure we'll get into spoilers. But I mean, it's been out for a little bit. We can let people know that we'll spoil some things. My initial thoughts are that this this checks all the boxes for everything that you would want in a Christmas movie.
Yes.
You have the origin story stuff where you get an idea of like where these traditions came from, coals in the stockings, presents in stockings,
The sleigh.
the sleigh and flying reindeer, like checking all the boxes, as well as just like making kids happy, seeing the light in their face
Joy.
when they see a toy, right? Like goodwill towards others. That was a big one in this movie, and it is very touching. But also this movie entwines into it some real gratitude, and basically heroes that kind of represent some of these I
Archetypes.
guess workers, I guess you could say, careers, jobs of people that are kind of don't get they don't get thanked enough, and that is postmen and teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and we'll kind of get into it, but you see a snowball effect of, well, yeah, the postman needs letters, and so he sends kids to go to the school, and they start getting taught to learn how to read and write, right? And so you start to see these people that are pillars of the community that really they really matter in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tip of the hat. It's a thank you to those people that get forgotten a lot.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad to me, really, because this comes out the December, basically, or maybe it was November, right before COVID. So like literally, what is it, 4 or 5 months later, COVID hits in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And almost completely wrecks, maybe some people would argue did completely wreck our country. And it's too bad to me that it's kind of a forgotten film, not by you or people, you and me and people like us, but for the most part, the quote, what is the quote? A true selfless act always sparks another. And that sentiment should have been what people were thinking about the whole time through the COVID years. And I still don't think we're completely out of it, but it would be great if people went back and discovered this movie and watched more of it. And it comes up on your Netflix, recommendations to watch every year too. I try to watch it with my kids every year. Because it's become that much of a Christmas classic for us. Because it's a newer film. There's always the classics like How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and the old stop motion like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and what are a couple of those other ones? Santa Claus is Coming to Town, those kind of things. And this has elements of Santa Claus is Coming to Town, because that movie's got the postman narrating it. And so this is about a postman, and it's too bad that the sentiment that this movie tries to push didn't take hold through those years, because I think we would have all done really well if we had all remembered that. So that the one true act of goodwill sparks another, but we can do you want to get into spoilers? Do you have any final thoughts?
I have some stuff starting out that
okay
won't be spoilers. So starting out, you see a bunch of letters, and a letter goes to the character Jesper, who is the main character, But when we see Jesper, he is laying down with cucumbers on his eyes. He's being pampered
when he's
and
introduced.
He's supposed to be like training in the school, the postman school, right? And he has done horribly. But one thing I wanted to point out, and I thought this was really interesting, one of the first things is this letter goes to Jesper, and it's his father calling him for a meeting. And he stands up, he looks at the letter, and he's like, and he says, I'm summoned to the dragon's lair. Okay. Now, I never noticed this before, and you wouldn't notice it first time watching it, but that he's saying that because he's going to go see his father. But really, what we know is that this is the start of a journey. And as the hero's journey. And this is pretty classic hero's journey for Jesper.
And the classic hero's journey is like Campbell talks about this, writes about this, and the hero's journey is basically like Star Wars is a very good example. That you have like a farm boy or somebody who's got a humdrum life who goes from there and goes on this adventure, and it's always portrayed in movies and stories and stuff like that. And in recent years, it's become, people think that it's archaic, like it's not the proper way to tell a story anymore, when in fact, if you boil almost all of our stories down to this one, regardless of whether it's a female protagonist or a male protagonist, or even if they're like the anti-hero, you still have a hero's journey of some kind,
most of the time, which is like hero's journey is that you've got a problem, right? And you've got character flaws that throughout an adventure you are able to fix those character flaws, right?
By the end.
So,
and you should be able to have them fixed by the end of that journey.
And that's part of the point of us as an audience watching that take place, is we want to see that progression. And another hero's journey is the Abrahamic story. And Jordan Peterson talks about the Abrahamic story a lot, in the fact that he is in his father's tent. He's old and he should be moved out and all taking care of his own stuff, but he's just relying on his father for everything. And that is Jesper in this story. He is relying on his father for everything. He goes, his father tells him,
his father is the postmaster general.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's the head of all the posts people in this world, it's a fictional world, but it has elements of that are just really well put in to this film. And the school for postmen is like a military school, and they're all like, it's all
like marching
and stuff like that. It's
totally,
it is
excellently like military
done. Yeah.
So true. So, but he basically is just like, I've done wrong by you by basically letting you live off of the silver spoon. I'm kicking you out. You've got to do something with your life, or I'm cutting you off of all of the money, right? The family money,
the family
living
money
on this silver spoon.
And then what he does is he sends him to the furthest most town in all of known,
Smearensburg, and they gotta go.
It's called Schmierensburg, and it's basically this podunk establishment that's way up north, right?
Yeah. Anyway, he goes, it's so funny because he's like, maybe someday he's, he sends him off, and not his butler, or one of
second in
his
command or whatever.
second in command. Aren't you being hard on him, sir? And he's like, well, maybe he'll thank me for it someday. And then this whole entourage of Jesper trying to get to Smearensburg and his like wheel falling off his wagon and stuff. And thank you, Dad. Thank you.
It's a montage. It's a montage.
Sarcastic. Anyway.
Yeah. This is a funny movie. Like, and as
made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, as most animated films should be. They should have a sense of fun, a sense of, there's a lot of I should say animation that isn't fun, and it's kind of out there. And it's more meant for adult fare, but this is a family film, and there's a lot of funny moments throughout. It made me laugh a lot as well. And he finally gets to, there's a boatman that has to take him across.
The boatman is so funny.
And the boatman is actually played by Norm Macdonald, who just recently died about a year ago.
Oh, gosh.
I think. Yeah, Norm Macdonald was a famous stand-up comedian. And he had a lot of he had a really great run on SNL as the Weekend Update guy. So and see, he's got everybody who does comedy always, like, all the top people in comedy always say that he's one of the ones that inspired them. So And he's great in this as the boatman. He's extremely sarcastic and very like conniving, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, he just makes fun of Jasper the whole time. And so
are we starting to connect the dots?
Yeah.
Anyway, people who watch it will know what I'm talking about there.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when, because he tells him, Jasper's like, isn't there supposed to be like a reception for me? Like, people, and he's like, oh yeah, the reception, go ring that bell. So the rope that he's supposed to go ring the bell is a noose.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to grasp what the meaning of it being a noose is, because he rings the bell and they all come out and fight. And then he rings the bell again and they all stop. So, and it's a noose. So is there a dark meaning here?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But it has its elements of kind of like a twisted sense of humor, kind of in the vein of Tim Burton. Because there's a lot of like characters that are kind of look like Tim Burton characters. The houses are all kind of jagged to make it look like Tim Burton, like a Tim Burton style. Like Nightmare Before Christmas and all that. It does have its inspiration from other animated films. So we should say that there's two families that are prominent in this town in Smearensburg, and both families.
And you learn this pretty quickly.
Yeah, you learn this pretty early on, that they have this feud between them that started years and years and years and years prior, and they've never stopped this feud, right? So he comes to town not knowing this, and the boatman just throws him right into the fire, just like, here you go, this is what you're gonna do. So and it's all played kind of for laughs, and like I said, all the people in the town kind of have like a very Tim Burton-y style to them. Yeah. And it's a little dark, but dark in like a fun and funny kind of way. So there's that. And then eventually, I guess we should get into spoilers. Like, that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the beginning. Before spoilers, we'll just say that basically Jesper is trying to we didn't mention, he's got to get 6,000 letters to go through the post office out of Smearensburg in order to
leave.
Win his father's approval back.
Yeah.
And
then his father said he'd have him leave. He would pull him out of there. That's what he really wants, because Jasper's been pampered his whole life, right?
Yeah.
So he's been pampered his whole life. So he wants the easy life, but he comes to this out of nowhere, and there's chickens roosting in his post office.
Yeah.
And it's run down, and he's got to build it. He's in this position of the sink or swim position, which, before we get into the spoilers, maybe we should touch on, this is kind of what Jordan Peterson always talks about, young men. The statistics are young men in this country who are able-bodied. There's about 8 million of them that are not working, don't have jobs, or are in and out of the workforce situation, which means that most of them are living off of either parents or a spouse or something. So there's 8 million in this country, and we have 350 million people in this country. So, I mean, there's still people working, but a lot of these people are working and providing through welfare or whatever it is that these people are on. There's 8 million of them not working, and they're able to work. And what this reminds me of is that if that's the case, if there's that many people not working, then a lot of them are living off of their parents.
Somebody's dole. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so this should be like a call to throw your kid out and let them make their way in the world. And that's real. It's been ages since I've taken any money. It's been from my parents. I'm sure you also, it's been ages. It's you have to make your own way in the world. And I think this movie is kind of the embodiment of that, is basically saying you sink or swim, Yeah.
And
it's
tough love, right? So the tough love is good. It's good that it's the best thing for Jesper's life.
Even though he hates it.
His dad forced him, kicked him out, and forced him to do this, right? Yeah. What does he do? He goes out, he basically, I mean, in lack of a better term, and this is Jordan Peterson talk here, but he basically has to go out and fix a problem or find a dragon to slay. And it brings the community together, and he gets the gold and the girl.
Right? Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's boiling it down to its very finite, but it that's essentially what the hero's journey is. And Jordan Peterson talks about this, and that's what young men, when they are caught up in a stalled life where they're not achieving anything, and they're sitting in their parents' basement and they don't do anything with their lives. If that's the case, then the call to the journey has not happened. And sometimes it's the parent, like in this movie, who goes, no, you get out and you go find something.
Sometimes the parents can enable the kid to just,
right. Yeah. There's very much an enabler society as well, where they're like, oh no, I don't want my children to leave because I thrive off of their love. And that's according to Jordan Peterson, that's the Oedipal mother.
Yeah. Who
devours the son or the daughter. It doesn't have to be, just men. It's also women can find themselves in this position as well, where they just don't go out and find a journey for themselves, right? Or an adventure for themselves. So let's get into spoilers. Spoilers right now. this movie delves into a ton of not only the hero's journey, but basically the psychology behind somebody who leaves and who has an adventure. And then there's also when he meets Klaus is given up on his adventure, right? He's stalled out on his own. He's still on his own. He's not, he's not being provided for by his parents, but he's had
I would venture to say, sorry, say that again.
Well, he's had a loss. His wife died,
and I would venture,
so he stopped living.
Yep. I would venture to say that when Jesper comes to Klaus, he is in a dark place.
Yes.
That
Klaus is in
all
a dark
the
place.
Symbolism kind of shows that, but he's in a dark place. He's just there. He's a hermit. He, and getting in, I mean, it's spoiling, but he has lost his wife. I love how the wife was depicted in this. You never see her, but she was depicted in this film as kind of wind with leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of wind with leaves, and she was always like trying to guide Klaus
away from his nihilism.
Yeah. Away from his nihilism. Like, and it's so true. Anyway, we've talked about it before, but it's so true that the better half, that women walk men away from their nihilism. That's it just
well, and
what it is, but
society,
so much of the time.
Well, so society, if we want to get really into the weeds on this, but when we're in a weird place in society right now where women and men are at each other's throats, the battle of the sexes rages right now. And the problem with that is it makes men nihilistic and it makes women bitter. And so we have an entire generation of women who are extremely bitter and men who are extremely nihilistic. And then all the other things that go into that. There's suicide on both sides. There's it's a dark place for both sexes to be, because we're supposed to complement each other. We're supposed to make each other better. And
this is very well depicted in that aspect
in this film, because
even after death, she's helping him, right? She's guiding him.
Yes,
she knows what he needs. She knows what he needs, and what he needs to do
is make toys for children to bring joy.
Yeah.
And he's given up on that. She died. He's given up. So when Jasper finds him, he's a hermit. He hasn't been part of society for many, many years. And this also plays into it with Jasper and Elva. Is that her name?
Is that her name?
Elvia. I believe it's ALVA. Excuse me.
Who's the school teacher?
Who's the school teacher? And you mentioned school teacher at the beginning. So she's a purposeless school teacher because the town is so divided. Nobody goes to school anymore, right? And so she's making ends meet by selling fish. It's a fishing town, so she's selling fish and just barely. So she's also lost her purpose. So this is an entire movie about people's purposes and refinding them and rekindling them.
Finding meaning.
Yes. Viktor Frankl, we talk about this book all the time. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. There's tons of videos about Viktor Frankl. They're really old videos, but he's got some amazing videos out there. Anyway, so Alvia has lost her purpose. Jasper is discovering purpose, but being forced to discover his purpose by his father, by being sent there. And Klaus has lost his purpose. So everybody's kind of a little depressed in this town. Everybody's kind of like a little angry. And by Jasper, he comes in.
You're making me think of something there.
Okay.
Is it, and I'll ask you here, is it that the is it in this, is it being kind of in a sense depicted that the this man that's forced on his hero's journey basically helps everybody else find their meaning and saves the town from the dragon?
Yeah, the dragon, which is the town itself, right? Yeah, it's all very old storytelling wrapped up into this new, and that's what makes me think that Sergio Pablos might be a genius, because, and which is, it makes me a little depressed that he hasn't done anything since, really. But because Klaus is so great, it really is like just this shining example that of what you can do when you take this old storytelling aspects and you kind of build upon the whole thing, because every single character in this gets an arc, right? Even the family, the two family heads, the I forget the names of the different families, but there's the
Crumbs and the Ellingbows,
Ellenbows or whatever they are, but they even get their arcs. So every character in this gets a really
kind of has their
great arc.
It's true.
Even like the children that are kind of morbid and like carrying a body at one point at the very beginning, like carrying a body in an alleyway that he sees, and he's like looking at him. Even they at some point start running around and being children, you know.
Yeah.
So it's extreme. It has a ton of symbolism in it that shows this, that people need purpose, which is so interesting that it came out right before COVID, because I think a lot of people lost their purpose during COVID. I think, you know, COVID wrecked a lot of people's lives, and the lockdown, for everything from the lockdowns to the loss of jobs to, you know, just a lot of stuff. And it's so sad that this movie couldn't have like held on to people's, I don't know, imaginations while going through those difficult times. Because you're right, Klaus himself, who is basically the Santa Claus character, is in a nihilistic place. And I don't remember, how does Jasper actually come to him? He's looking for people to send letters, right?
He's trying to find letters to send, and he's going all through the town trying to find letters to send. And then he on the map, there's a little dot out away from everybody, and he asks the boatman, like, what's that place? And he's like, oh, that's the woodcutter's house. Like, he loves visitors. And then he goes out there to see him.
And it's a little scary. It's played up like a little scary. And
it's so good. I love how they make it kind of scary and stuff. And it's good for the kids. It's great fun for the kids.
Yeah.
You know, to get scared a little bit. It shows his axe. And it's like, shing.
It's really perfect. And so he gets Klaus on board, and Klaus doesn't speak, and he barely talks. And so at some point he gets Klaus to and Klaus kind of thinks, so Klaus is a toy maker. He planned, they do this beautiful montage of his life before he was a hermit. And it goes through like and is all told visually, and is beautifully done. Like, they had plans for a huge family. And so Klaus immediately,
him and his wife Lydia, right?
Yes.
Lydia?
So they get married, and he plans on he just starts building toys. And you notice that the toys build up over time because she can't have children.
Well, it could be him too.
Oh,
so
it could,
they are not able to have kids together.
They are not able to have children, but they planned on having children. So they're going through this motion of, he's like, I'm building these for the children that I will have. And it turns out she passes. This is all told through montage.
Yeah.
And he gives up on making the toys. He's just a woodcutter now. Anyway, so he basically has given up. He's in a nihilistic place. Jasper comes, tries to get him to send letters, finds out that he's got all these toys stored away, and then at some point they end up giving a child a toy, and they watch the child with the toy, and it brings them joy in the process of watching the child. And so both of them have kind of worked together.
The symbolism in there, so it's the first time Klaus sees this picture that a kid drew of his own, this kid drew a picture of himself in what looks like a jail cell at his home. And that's probably how the kid feels. And the kid is sad. And this is where Klaus wants to take a toy to this kid. And as Klaus watches this kid open the toy, he's got his hood up and it's all dark over his face. And the visuals that they used here was amazing, because as the kid opens the toy and as they watch the kid play with the toy, he takes his hood off and you see the light on his face, literally symbolizing that he is like come into the light. Like it's like the light bulb moment that he now knows.
That's what's so great
this is
about
what he's got to do.
Yeah. That's what's so great about this animation that they use in this, is that they almost every opportunity to play into some kind of symbolism they do.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like you said, with the noose around the bell, that's means that they're gonna go fight each other. Like all that is symbolism to show these for me, it makes the viewing experience more enjoyable, because then every time I review it, I notice those things. I'm like, oh wow, that's a nice little touch that I didn't notice before. So that you pointed that out, and I'm going to notice it the next time I watch this. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, he comes into the light after being in darkness, and you get this idea that he's rediscovering his purpose, or just discovering his purpose, probably because he's realizing, oh wait, I could do this for all the children. So that's what's so great about this movie.
That's what I love about animations, is when they do stuff like that. When they do stuff and they really make everything purposeful and it all kind of means something. Those are the animations I love.
Yeah.
And
well, and
anyway, so the first kid, and then Jesper keeps at him because he wants to get his 6,000 letters. The montage of him almost, it's like it's playing on him like being a drug dealer, but he's going to kids and being like, he's being like, hey, you want a toy? Like, so it's hilarious. It's hilarious to watch. And then the kids come to him and he's like, you got to have a letter in order to send a letter to Klaus. And they're like, some of these kids are like, well, we don't know how to read and write. And he's like, well, you could
go to school.
And then literally, and it shows Alva at the school. And all these kids are like, can we learn how to read and write? And then it shows her come out of her darkness too, where watch it again, because she's kind of behind the wall, and it's all kind of dark over her. And literally the kid, she shows the kid how to write their name, and it shows her, and she's all dark, and she's like, yay, you learned to write your name. And then all the other kids are like, I want to write my name, like I want to learn. And it just shows the light bulb go on her as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh,
she comes out of her nihilism too.
I can help these kids. And and it's so sweet watching her, like she had all of her savings.
And she
that
starts
she was
using the
gonna-
savings to improve the schoolhouse.
she
It's
had their
really great.
savings that she was going to
Leave the town with.
get out of town. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
her get out of town savings, and she started using that to improve her school so that she could teach these kids. And I don't want to watch it too much, because I feel like if I watch it too much, then I won't have the same effect anymore. But I basically the waterworks every single time. I cry every time I watch this film.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because I was watching some comedians, the normies. Yeah. So you guys will have to check those. They're just a bunch of comedians watching Klaus, and they're all kind of, talking about it as they watch it. And literally they all didn't have a dry eye watching this.
By the end of this, yeah,
Yes.
they're all crying.
It was
They're
so
all
great.
Like, wow, this is a good
I'm
movie.
not the only one.
Yeah, I get
heartstrings.
Yeah, it does play on your heartstrings, especially when you realize the joy that Christmas can bring to other people. Especially when you're helping out people that don't normally get any help. So, but anyway, they Jasper and Klaus kind of combine forces, and they continue to he builds toys, and you see the progression. They like make his workshop bigger, and there's like a tribe of people that live outside of the city who speak another language, and they have them help Klaus out.
They come to help make the toys.
So that's kind of like the beginning of the elves.
The beginning of the elves kind of thing. Yeah.
And what I love about it is, even though it's like everything's exaggerated, it's still reality, right?
Yeah. It's still it's still within the realm of possibility, right?
So and like the kids themselves are the ones that put out the idea that Santa Claus has got magic, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, how does he get through the chimneys? And it shows like a montage of all the chimneys that Jasper has to go through
and Jasper's super skinny, so he's like through all the chimneys to get into these houses to give
and then they're like, well, it must be magic.
Yeah. And then one kid, like, they're running from, so the Ellingbows and the Crumbs, they join forces. Like, it's so funny when they say, so we must make peace in order to destroy peace. So, anyway, they join forces to stop Jesper and Klaus, because all their clan is not wanting to fight anymore, because they're at cookouts and book clubs, and it's so horrible, like, because they don't want to fight anymore. And so the
leadership,
these traditions, these powers that be, decide that they need to join forces so that they can come against Klaus and Jesper.
So anyway, what did you think, like, about like the political parallels with like the right and the left? It's like the leadership class of the right and the left that are really causing there to be a divide.
I don't know if that's what they were going for, but you could definitely see that would definitely be like, you could kind of put that on any, like, people that hate another people. You probably could put that on the Palestinians and the Israelis, right? You could probably put that same kind of story you could probably put on
the leadership class of those two groups is what's really pushing the divide.
Right. And like, for whatever reason, for their own purposes, they don't want the clash to go away. Like, they don't want
for nefarious purposes, away, right? Yeah. Because it provides, like, purpose again. We go back to purpose because
maybe
yeah.
And it could have, back in the day, it would have been like people of different colors that just hating on each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, so there's a lot. I mean, it doesn't have to just fall on left and right, but it could be all the different, could be
Divide
the Protestants and the Catholics. I mean, that feud.
That feud's been going on for a while as well. So
yeah.
I mean, it's just it's interesting to watch when you go back to the symbolism of this movie. It's interesting to look at it and think, oh, this could be referring to the divide in our society currently. Although I would say that after 2019 we even got worse of a divide. So but maybe if people keep going back to this movie every Christmas, they'll be like, oh, hey, maybe we don't need this divide in our lives. So Jasper, his motivations are a little nefarious, right? He's just trying to get up to 6,000 so he can get out of there, right?
Yeah.
And in the process of doing this, it changes him as a person, but not without damaging a little bit of his relationship with Alvia and Klaus, because it wasn't, what do you call it, completely true that he was, so it's kind of a falsehood,
right? Yeah, it comes out that the reason that he wanted all these letters sent, blah blah blah, the reason all this happened was because he wanted to get out of there. I don't know,
it feels like I'm against falsehoods, but it's like, if the falsehood is to bring about good, is it really as bad of a falsehood as it could be? I mean, I don't know. I'm a little conflicted on that, just because I'm so much at this stage in my life against any kind of falsehoods, to the point where I've actually thought maybe we should never tell our children that Santa Claus exists. And my wife and I
I tell my kids I'm Santa Claus.
Well, and they don't really believe you, right? Because that's the same thing Dad used to do to us.
Yeah, but it's just they still gather from their friends, from TV, right?
Yeah.
From movies like this. Like, it just they glean it from the culture, but at the same time, when they find out that Santa Claus isn't real, then they'll be like, oh yeah, Dad always said that he was Santa Claus.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's probably the way to do it. But it's interesting that it's like this collective lie that we've all agreed on. It's
and I mean,
it's the wrong way to probably raise your child, because at some point you're going to tell them, oh yeah, we were lying to you the whole time. And then your child is going, well, if they're lying to me the whole time about this, then they immediately, at 10 or 11 or whenever you tell them, they go, oh, this is what people do to each other. I don't really like the whole aspect of believing in Santa Claus, but at the same time, if you to keep a little bit of magic in their world, you don't want them to be so you don't want them to be such a realist that they also delve into cynicism, because that's really what can happen. When you're a realist, you also become very cynical about life, right?
Yeah.
And then it takes away the magic. So that's kind of where Jasper is. He's trying to get to this goal, but he did it through a lie that actually creates something good. So it's this whole like mess of, a falsehood creating good.
Yeah.
Then comes back to bite him in the butt towards the end of the movie. because everybody finds out, and they're very saddened by it because they thought he was doing this for an altruistic
it's
gain.
typical, like what are all the 90s love movies where it's like, oh, I started this on a bet, but I fell in love with you, right? Like it's just like all these a lot of movies, kind of do this thing where it's like, oh, it started out that way, but I really
like you in the I learned to
fell in
love
love
you
with
in the
you, or I
process. So, yeah.
really fell in love with doing these good things, right?
Yeah.
Um
And
so
that's a hard fine line to run with the main characters, so like Jesper. So Jesper's this unlikable character, but at the same time you kind of like him because he's funny, and he kind of like has quippy things that he says that are enjoyable. So he's not completely this evil character, but but it allows the character to grow, which I think is the really cool aspect to this. It allows the character to grow.
Yeah. But also he gets to tell his father what he's done, what he's learned, how he's grown.
Mm-hmm.
And then
make a decision to stay.
Choose to stay. Yeah.
Because he's enjoyed it enough.
And it was kind of cool when he was telling the girl that doesn't speak English, and he's telling her the story, telling her all about it.
And even though she doesn't understand what he's saying.
Yeah. His father told him that his father told him that he was proud of him. And and that was touching. That was enough. Too, so
well, and it ends with them going through the years of doing this, and it shows the progression of their old age. Like Jasper gets this mustache that everybody makes fun of him for, and Klaus starts getting older, and he's graying a lot more, and I love how they integrated all of the different parts of Santa Claus, the stuff that we know about Santa Claus, into like how they did the coal, how they, and the laugh. He's like, really? That's your laugh? He's like, I've never heard your laugh, because he's, at the beginning of the movie, Klaus is nihilistic, and so he doesn't laugh. But at some point, something happens that makes him laugh, and it's like the ho 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 ho. Yeah. So we should talk about the actors. Like J.K. Simmons plays the Klaus, and he does an excellent job. Most people would know him from playing J. Jonah Jameson from the Spider-Man films. Spider-Man's boss, essentially. And
serious?
Yeah, are you serious? And then he's got a cigar all the time. So, and then Jason Schwartzman plays Jasper, and Jason Schwartzman always plays these kind of characters, like kind of wimpy, kind of unlikable characters. So there's this great all-star cast. I mean, we talked about Norm Macdonald. I mean, he was an excellent comedian. He had some really funny stuff in the 90s. So yeah, it was a really well put together film. It's kind of sad to me that there's not more of that on Netflix, because Netflix has Netflix has this forgettable problem, right? So other than maybe some aspects to Stranger Things, the show on Netflix, there's almost nothing that I watch on Netflix that was made for Netflix that stays with me. There's almost nothing that I watch and I'm like, wow, that was excellent. That was so good. It's a that I revisit. Klaus is the one thing that I can think of that I really revisit on Netflix. There really isn't much else. I don't know if it's just their culture of get out as much as possible, as fast as possible, and maybe it lessens the quality. I don't know what to really think about. I've always tried to kind of put my finger on it, but I can't really figure out why.
Might be not having the huge budget, right? Like that might play a part in it. I don't know.
What do you
Because
mean?
they probably could throw a lot of money on. I mean, Netflix seemed how many last I looked, they had like 70 million subscribers. And if you think about like, $14 a month,
For 70 million people.
70 million people.
Well, I think
like,
70 million just in the United States. I mean,
yeah,
they've branched out to other countries and
worldwide. Yeah.
worldwide.
So
It's pretty big.
I'm sure they could
So
throw a ton of money at some good content. I was just thinking like maybe they just can't be throwing 200 million at
like Disney does. Disney
like
throws
Disney.
$200 million
Disney
at
will just throw 200 million at drop of a hat
and then do terrible in
to make a crappy film.
to make a crappy film. So I mean, the quality is, I think, when you're trying to make, like, I think, what was the movie that came out with The Rock that they did?
Red Notice.
I think that was like a $2 million movie.
Really?
And I don't remember anything about that movie. Zero. It's like memory.
Was kind of forgettable. Yeah, I watched it, but it had
in my head.
The Rock and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And Gal Gadot. Like, how could you not make this the most memorable thing?
Yeah.
But you're right. It really wasn't that memorable. I kind of forgotten about it.
Well, and Gray Man was okay, but it was also forgettable. But anyway, the point is that they kind of are very forgettable. I think, other than Stranger Things, like there's parts of Stranger Things that are like I'll always remember. They're not forgettable things, and I don't know if it's just the matter of the filmmakers or what. And there's stuff in this that I won't forget. Any final thoughts on Klaus?
Yeah, final thought would be that this is the story of someone getting out of their comfort zone to being forced to, but really everybody has the choice. Get out of your comfort zone. What's your own hero's journey, right? What's your own thing that you can go do that will improve your community, right? Ask
your
yourself
life
that.
And your community.
Yeah, your life and your community. Like, ask yourself that and go do it, right? And like, that's to everybody. Like, start a book club. I don't know. Help a sports team.
Volunteer on a sports team. Start a book club. Find a new job. Like, do what's necessary to do to not only improve your life, but improve the life of your family, improve the life of your community, or the people in your community. So it's a great message.
One act of goodwill will spur on another, right? And then our communities get better and better and better.
Well, and it's like Jordan Peterson, the Jordan Peterson quote is always, if you can improve as an individual, then we all collectively flourish. On that, we will call that good. Please go out and see this movie. It's really easy to find if you have Netflix. Check us out on social media. We are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for The Sword in the Skull. We're on YouTube.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, the begs. Thank you for that, brother. Keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. We'll see ya.
See ya.